This is Land of Havilah, Proverbs 14, verse 1. Every wise woman builds her house, but the foolish one tears it down with her own hands. Comment house there is also translated household. Every wise woman builds her household. She builds up her family and doesn't tear it down. Verse 2. He who walks in his uprightness fears Yahweh, but he who's perverse in his ways despises him. Comment, the upright man fears God, the perverse man despises God. Verse 3. The fool's talk brings a rod to his back, but the lips of the wise protect them. Comment, a fool's words get him in trouble, a wise person's words protect him. Verse 4. Where no oxen are, the crib is clean, but much increase is by the strength of the ox. Comment, that's also translated, where there are no oxen, the stall is clean, but much increase is by the strength of the ox. That proverb extends far beyond oxen. The general meaning of it is that sometimes it's well worth putting up with some messes, irritations, and complex situations. Verse 5. A truthful witness will not lie, but a false witness pours out lies. Comment, some people are liars even on the witness stand. That was very similar to Proverbs 12:17. He who's truthful testifies honestly, but a false witness lies. In the law of Moses, to keep false witnesses off the witness stand, a false witness received the penalty the accused would have borne if he had been convicted. For example, if someone testified falsely in a murder trial, the liar received the punishment for murder. Deuteronomy 19:16-21. Verse 6. A scoffer seeks wisdom and doesn't find it, but knowledge comes easily to a discerning person. Comment, a scoffer can't find wisdom even when he looks for it, but a discerning person finds wisdom easily. If we scoff at wisdom, we can't see it. Verse 7. Stay away from a foolish man, for you won't find knowledge on his lips. Comment, knowledge is also translated wise counsel. Leave a foolish man, for he won't speak any wise counsel. Verse 8. The wisdom of the prudent is to think about his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. Comment, the wise think things over. When a fool tries to think his way through a problem, he deceives himself and comes to the wrong conclusions. Verse 9. Fools mock at making atonement for sins, but among the upright there is goodwill. Comment, the righteous person has goodwill and tries to make up for his wrongs. A fool can't stand to admit he was wrong, therefore atonement doesn't make sense to him. Verse 10. The heart knows its own bitterness and joy. He will not share these with a stranger. Comment, sometimes we harbor strong emotions that we don't share because we're embarrassed, or we feel no one else would understand, or we don't know anyone who would see it our way. We commit the secrets of our heart to God alone. The heart knows its own bitterness and joy. He will not share these with a stranger. Verse 11. The house of the wicked will be overthrown, but the tent of the upright will flourish. Comment, righteousness makes a house flourish, wickedness tears a house apart. Verse 12. There is a way which seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death. Comment, we can be deceived about what's right and wrong. Quote, there's a way which seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death. Verse 13. Even in laughter the heart may be sorrowful, and mirth may end in heaviness. Comment, to be mirthful means to be jolly and merry. Laughter and mirth are not signs of inner satisfaction. A big laugh might be just a temporary lift, that as soon as the laughter dies down, within seconds that baseline of sorrow sets in again. Even during the laughter, the heart may be sorrowful, and mirth may end in heaviness. If we pass by a house with a big party and everyone laughing and such, that's no sign there's any real happiness there. Verse 14. The unfaithful will be repaid for his own ways. Likewise, a good man will be rewarded for his ways. Comment, you reap what you sow, either for the good or the bad. Verse 15. A simple man believes everything, but the prudent man carefully considers his ways. Comment, a prudent man thinks for himself, he's not gullible. Verse 16. A wise man fears and shuns evil, but the fool is hot-headed and reckless. Comment, a wise man fears and shuns evil. It can't be said any clearer. But the fool is hot-headed. He angers quickly. He's reckless, meaning he rushes right into evil and suffers the consequences. This is in contrast to the wise man who fears and shuns evil. Verse 17. He who is quick to become angry will commit folly, and a crafty man is hated. Comment: in the first part, a short-tempered person commits folly. He doesn't take time to consider wisdom. He goes straight into anger mode. In the second part of the proverb, a crafty man is hated. Obviously, no one likes to be preyed upon. Therefore, a crafty man is hated. But what's the connection between part A and B? In part A, the short-tempered person acts quickly. In part B, the crafty person takes his time. Either way, the person is doing evil, whether he does it quickly or whether he takes his time. Verse 18. The simple inherit folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. Comment: the simple-minded suffer the consequences, the prudent reap the reward. Solomon's advising us to think things through. Verse 19. The evil bow down before the good, and the wicked at the gates of the righteous. Comment: good never bows to evil, but eventually, even if it takes the final judgment to make it happen, the evil will be forced to bow to what's right. Verse 20. The poor person is shunned even by his own neighbor, but the rich person has many friends. Comment: true friendship isn't very common. The poor person's shunned even by his own neighbor, but the rich person has many friends. A rich and powerful person has to wonder how many of his so-called friends would shun him if his fortunes changed. Verse 21. He who despises his neighbor sins, but he's blessed who has pity on the poor. Comment: those who pity the poor rather than despising them are blessed. Verse 22. Don't they go astray who plot evil? But love and faithfulness belong to those who plan good. Comment: if we plan evil, it's because we've gone astray. If we plan good, it's because we possess love and faithfulness. Verse 23. In all hard work there's profit, but the talk of the lips leads only to poverty. Comment: in all hard work there's profit. So what about businesses that don't earn a profit despite hard work? At least the entrepreneur learns something. In the second half of the proverb, the talk of the lips leads only to poverty. A business doesn't stand a chance of succeeding if you only talk about it and never do it. Verse 24. The crown of the wise is their riches, but the folly of fools crowns them with folly. Comment: the wise are crowned with riches, fools are crowned with folly. We'll be wearing a crown one way or the other. Verse 25. A truthful witness saves souls, but a false witness is deceitful. Comment: it's important to witness truthfully and accurately. We don't want to lead anyone astray. There are real consequences at stake. Verse 26. And the fear of Yahweh is a secure fortress, and he'll be a refuge for his children. Comment: the fear of Yahweh is a secure fortress. There's security in doing the right thing. Even if man punishes us for doing the right thing, which is not very likely, God will support us. And a related proverb, verse 27, the fear of Yahweh is a fountain of life, turning people from the snares of death. Comment: that term fountain of life speaks of inner well-being and outer well-being. Snares of death is the opposite. It's inner chaos and outer chaos. The fear of Yahweh makes a difference between life and death of the inner man and the outer man. Verse 28. In the multitude of people is the king's glory, but in the lack of people is the destruction of the prince. Comment: a kingdom has the potential to be strong if it has a large population. If the population is small, it's vulnerable to aggressors. The king's life hangs in the balance. He needs enough population that they can defend themselves. We could extend the same principle to any business or organization. The larger it is, the easier it can exert its influence and crush its competition. Verse 29. He who's slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a quick temper displays folly. Comment: being slow to anger is a good thing, but difficult to achieve. It takes great understanding. It's a mistake to have a quick temper. Your narrator remembers the high school track coach calling a practice for Saturday morning. While we were running, it started raining. The coach took shelter and we kept running. It only made sense to your narrator that we needed to get in shape and that there was no reason for the coach to stand out in the rain. But after practice in the locker room, one of the boys yelled at the coach and berated him for 2 or 3 minutes straight for having us run in the rain. Your narrator was sure the coach would explode, but he only waited for the boy to finish. Then he calmly and matter-of-factly said, "It's good for you." And that was it. It was one of the most memorable displays of wisdom I've ever seen. Years later, I told that story at his retirement party, and the crowd went wild. He who's slow to anger has great understanding. Verse 30. The life of the body is a heart at peace, but envy rots the bones. Comment, the second half of the proverb is about envy, which means the first half of the proverb was probably about envy as well, even though there was no mention of it. Contentment with what we have keeps our heart at peace, but envy rots our bones. Verse 31. He who oppresses the poor shows contempt for his maker, but he who's kind to the needy honors him. Comment, be kind to the needy and don't oppress him, for by one we show respect for his maker, and by the other we show contempt for his maker. Verse 32. The wicked is brought down in his calamity, but in death the righteous has a refuge. Comment, there could be an implication of the final judgment in this one, that after the righteous die, God gives them refuge. But it's sufficiently ambiguous that maybe while a righteous person is in the process of dying, even while he's still on this side of the grave, God gives him refuge. Both are true. Verse 33. Wisdom rests in the heart of one who has understanding, and is even made known in the inward part of fools. Comment, deep down even a fool knows the wise thing to do. Wisdom is made known in his inward parts. It doesn't come to the surface, but it's in there somewhere. Verse 34. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a disgrace to any people. Comment, this is what gives us Christians such consternation about the state of our country. We know righteousness lifts a nation up, and sin is the disgrace and ruin of a nation. Verse 35. The king's favor is toward a servant who deals wisely, but his wrath is toward one who causes shame. Comment, what's true for an earthly king is many times true for God also, so Proverbs about kings might also apply to God. Exodus 15:18 is possibly the first verse in the Bible which mentions God as king. Quote, the Lord shall reign forever and ever, end quote. Since it's obvious that an earthly king's favor is toward a servant who deals wisely, but his wrath is toward one who causes shame, it only makes sense that the same holds true for God. Proverbs 15 is next.